Hey, seventh grade. So today's activity is going to have you measure the circumference, the perimeter around a circle, and diameter of circular objects in your home. Now, here are some household items that you may have. This one I actually stole from my classroom before all this happened. This is a measuring tape, a flexible one that doesn't roll back up on its own. It's got centimeters on one side and inches on the other. This is the one that I will be using. Then we have the toolbox measuring tape that most people do have. This is not quite as flexible. I mean, it does this, yeah, but to go around a rounded edge, this is not ideal. This is a dog leash. It does not have any kind of markings on it, but this is actually much more useful than, say, a piece of yarn, because if you stretch a piece of yarn, it gives a little bit, right? And so this doesn't have any give to it. So I can measure, let's say, around this countertop here, and I can say, okay, so it goes exactly from the end of the plastic piece that you can't see because it's off camera. There we go, the end of the plastic piece right here to to this point. And so then I can use my household toolbox measuring tape to measure exactly how long this is. And so that's very helpful. The last thing that you may have in your home is one of these. This is a sewing kit, emergency patches and things like that. Uh-oh, upside down. It's got thread in it, it's got scissors, but it's also got one of these nice flexible measuring tapes, and this is also up to 60 inches, and it's got centimeters on the back. So this is pretty amazing. I bought this one at Target one day after my daughter ripped the blanket off of her Eeyore and was freaking out. And so I went ahead, I was with my dad, my brother, my husband, and both my daughters, and it was 9 o'clock at Target. And so I went ahead and bought the sewing kit here. I'm just rolling up the tape measure. So I went ahead and bought the sewing kit because they didn't just have a pack of needles and white thread at that Target, which was horrible. But anyway, I went ahead and bought the sewing kit. I took Eeyore and I sat down at the place where it's got like the pretzels and stuff, that little restaurant. And I sat down there and I fixed the Eeyore. It was done by the time my brother, my dad, and Eddie had all of their stuff to check out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate the measurement of stuff. So bear with me here. You can't see me. All right, so this is the coolest thing that I've done so far during quarantine, I guess. So I was talking with Mr. Wolf before all of this happened, and I'm like, how bad are the mosquitoes going to be this year? And he's like, if we don't have a couple of 0-degree nights in a row to kill all the larvae, all the eggs and stuff, we're going to have a pretty bad mosquito year. And I live out in the middle of nowhere now, where there's water standing everywhere. And that's what mosquitoes use to breed, right? So I made this mosquito planter. It's got rosemary and lavender and spearmint, and it's got some marigolds going in there. So that is, I made 2 of those actually, and that's going to be the centerpiece of our entertaining porch. So I'm going to take my cloth measuring tape here. It doesn't have any give to it. See? And I'm going to measure around the top. Now you can tell on this planter that it is like a cone, right? With its head cut off, it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom. So I'm going to measure at the very top, around the circle at the very top. So here we go. As top as I can get. Alrighty. Oh, there it is. All right, and so I'm going to make this as close to the rim as I can because it's going to have some variation if I don't. Okay, so there we go. I've measured all the way around, and this is 49 1/4 inches. So that's what I would record on my table for today. Its circumference is 49 1/4 inches. All right, so that's 49.25. Then I'm going to measure directly across the center. And so that means I'm gonna have to get my plants here. There we go. And directly across is 15 7/8 inches. So I'm going to remember those numbers, and I'm going to show you, actually no, I'm not gonna show you because then that would be 3 videos and I'm not doing that. So that is what we are going to be doing today. A word of caution. So I got some other stuff. This is a squishy ball, and it's got this nice little hemisphere divider there that you can see that seam, and so we can measure directly around that. Now the challenge is going to be getting the diameter of this thing. So this is, what would you call that? I guess you can't see where it overlaps. There we go. I would call that 18 3/4 inches. So that's the circumference, but how would I figure out the diameter? Isn't this the diameter? It goes like halfway around? No, diameter is that straight, oh right, you can't see that, sorry. It's the straight linear distance. So this is my my measurer here, and what I would do is I would stand directly over this, where this lines up there, exactly at the end, and see where it lines up on the other side, which is approximately 6 inches. So this is going to be less precise simply because there's no real way to like cut this in half and get a flat measure of the diameter. And so a ball may be a challenging type thing to use. Bowls, I got pots and pans here, flower planters, I've got a million of those. That sort of thing is going to be a lot easier. That sort of thing is going to be a lot easier to measure straight across because it doesn't have the curve to it and there's nothing to account for. All right, so you need to measure several of these different household circular items. It can be DVDs, it can be bowls, it can be round things in your room, whatever you've got that you want to measure around that is doable and that is easily accessible, then you go ahead and do that. Make sure that you fill in the table and check back with me tomorrow for story time. You guys have a great rest of the night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.